Right, so let's talk about the band Korn. That starts in Bakersfield, or no?
No, we all grew up together in Bakersfield, but
Okay.
the band actually started in Huntington Beach, California. I met the bass player in junior high, 7th grade. He was into Duran Duran. I was into Iron Maiden and Ozzy. And I told him, you need to get into metal, bro. And so it worked. And I met the guitar player Monkey in the 9th grade. I met the singer, 4th grade actually. He went to
Okay.
and so yeah, but we ended up, when we graduate from high school, you're in the armpit of California, in Bakersfield, right?
I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
You got to get out of there.
Yeah.
So we all come to LA, and through other circumstances, we ended up forming Korn in around '93.
Who comes up with the genre of heavy metal? Like, why heavy metal and not pop rock or R&B or something else? You know.
Just that we were all drawn to it growing up. You know, all of us just had that in common, and it was something that I just loved the sound. I loved the vocals. I loved the guitar, and so did the guys too.
Yeah.
And so we just gravitated towards each other.
Was it big then? Like, because we're talking what, early '90s or around what time?
Probably, I mean, from when I got into it, it was early '80s
Okay.
to the early '90s. So that decade right there.
Was heavy metal coming into its own at that time? Was it a big
think so.
genre?
You know, Black Sabbath got it going in the '70s, and then it over. And then Ozzy went solo, and that was huge for me because I was a huge Ozzy fan.
Okay.
Blizzard of Oz, Diary of a Madman, and then other bands started coming out, like Iron Maiden, and so all these bands were really big back then. So it had a good following.
You're thinking what at the time? This is just great music that I love. We're gonna play it and just have fun, or you're thinking we're gonna be big. We're gonna sell a lot of albums. What are you thinking? Are
I'm
you just
thinking
having fun or what?
this is going to be what I want to do for the rest of my life, and I got to get in there somehow.
Wow.
That's what I'm thinking
Right.
because I had no other plan actually.
No other plan. Are you thinking you're gonna be rich doing this, or are you thinking I'm just gonna have fun doing it?
Well, I'm the guy that's just like, look, if I can make a living, I don't need to be rich. I just want to do music, you know, not being too greedy or whatever, you know.
When do you start writing, or do you write?
I start writing songs around 12 years old, 13 years old. I'm writing, little cheesy songs. Don't You Know was one, and it was just like this. It's kind of like, not glam metal, but kind of like that, really melodic, you know. And so but the lyrics were totally cheesy, but at least I was.
Do you remember the lyrics?
Yeah.
What? For the first time.
You're gonna make me say 'em.
Of course. For the first time ever on national TV, the lyrics to Brian Head Welch's first song. Go.
I'm not singing it, but it was. It was don't you know how much I want you? Do you want me, baby? Not knowing is driving me crazy.
Deep. Very deep. Very deep. Correctly. So when you deal with an addictive drug, maybe most people are not thinking this is a necessarily bad thing. This is just something I can control. That's the illusion.
Right. That's the illusion.
That it's not going to.
That was us anyway. Like we didn't want to go destroy our lives. We just wanted to have a little fun, you know.
Right. Right.
And so, but year after year, it would progressively get worse.
So it's a slow progression. It's not something where people think somebody's just overnight an addict. It's
Right.
something that you kind of.
Yeah.
Right? How do you know when you're, or when would you say it was out of control? Or did you even know?
I mean, it was out of control pretty much from the beginning, but we would step back. Like I said, we would go, okay, so to show myself and us that we're not addicts, we won't do it for a few months, and then we'll come back and do it. But it started getting out of control probably around I remember 2001. I was getting a little scared. My wife ended up leaving me. She was hooked on meth. And we were using, me and her, we had the baby and we want to be good parents, but we would use like just once in a while. And when I left for tour one day, I noticed about a month into the tour that she had went into everyday like addiction habit pretty much, and so she left me and our child, and she didn't want to leave her baby. She did not want to, but she was afraid of my big, all the lawyers I had and everything, and she was like, I'm never going to win, so why even try? So she loved her kid and loves her daughter very much to this day. But so when I got full custody of my daughter, I got clean. Then 9/11 happened, and I got all stressed out and started drinking again. And then by that time, I moved back to Bakersfield, California, the armpit. But by this time, it was booming,
Right.
and it was more like modern and everything. So I like Bakersfield now. But I moved back there, and I ran into someone that was a friend that was very successful. He had all kinds of employees, and he just so happened to dibble-dabble in meth sometimes because his employees would do it. And then he was like running the business, but he thought he had it under control too. I'd just do it once in a while. And then, so I found out one of his employees' number. I got his cell number, and then I had to connect. And then I had a Korn tour. It was with Linkin Park, and it was a full summer tour. Linkin Park, Snoop Dogg, Korn, and some other bands. And I got so scared because I went on my first week-long or 2-week-long binge of crystal meth where I slept, but I kept using every day. Wow. And so I didn't have time to stop, and I was so scared, and I was like, man, I'm going to have to because when you stop meth, if you're doing it for a long time, you got to crash for like a week or two. Like you just sleep and eat sugar and then go back to sleep. And so I was like, I don't have time to do that. So I bought like a couple of 8 balls of meth and took them on the tour all summer.
Wow.
And that was the worst.
At some point, Brian, in the midst of all of this crazy, what some people would call a successful life, somebody introduces you to the message of Christ. Somebody introduces you to the Bible because you didn't grow up in it, right?
No.
Okay. So at what age, or give us, that experience. How did you have that encounter?
Well, I was the type of guy that, would flip through the channels and be like, land on TBN or a Christian channel and be like, and who knows what I said back then.
Right.
But just, mocked it or whatever. And then, fast forward years and years later, I got to this point where I was on that 2-year binge, right? And I wanted to get clean. I had talked to a couple outpatient rehab places, one in Bakersfield and one in Hollywood, and they both were telling me we don't have as much success with meth addicts as we do with other drug addicts. And I'm just like going,
wow.
So what are you telling me? What can you do for me? And they're like, well, we can try. We just have to be honest with you, and you can do it. You can, if you set your. But I wasn't given like a lot of hope, and so I was just thinking like I gotta, because by that time I was like I do not want to exist anymore. I'm a shell walking around with nothing of substance inside, and I got all kinds of money in the bank, but I just don't want to wake up when I go to sleep. I just wish that I could just stay asleep, and and the only thing that made me want to breathe and live was my daughter. So I'm thinking I just need to get off the drugs, and so I could just be the best person I could be for her. But then I would have the thoughts when I get back on the drugs or do another line, and that would wear off, I would think, man, she'd better off without me. And I'd start going through the suicidal thoughts and everything. And so it was a tug of war. But I told you that I was a functioning drug addict. I had these partners that were doing real estate deals. They were buying land and developing, and I became a partner with them. And money was like my thing. I never liked to spend it. I always liked to make it grow. That was my thing before. And so these guys were growing their money, and so I blended right with them. And so I was attracted to them and their business through that, and they actually were Christians. Wow. So God was using my money idol, if you will.
Right.
And so I
pulling you in.
Yeah. And so I did a business deal with them. We bought some land, and you could tell, man, I was on meth, and anybody could tell something was a little off, Right. And so they ended up just talking to me, and they invited me to go to church one day, and I'm like, you know, I used to mock it when I was growing up, and but I did ask Christ in my heart when I was 12 through some neighbors. But so I held on to that, and when they asked me to come to church, I'm like, you know, all I was thinking was like Ned Flanders from The Simpsons, you know, and it's like, I'm like, okay, they're not kind of like I am, but they're not the same type of person I am, but maybe they're probably sober. So if I go there, it'll be like a community of sober people. I thought Christians that didn't party, you know, that's what I thought. And then I get there and I hear about this Jesus Christ who's real, the Son of God who was here and, you know, died on the cross and raised from the dead and came and would come to live inside of me. So, but I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. I'm like, so this guy came and walked on the earth in a robe and did miracles and then died on the cross and then raised back to life, and now he's going to come live inside of me. I'm like, how does that happen? You know, and but you know, you could feel the presence and everything at that church, what they took me to, and I'm like, man, these people are either crazy or they have the meaning of life. And I started thinking back when I asked Christ in my heart, and I'm like, maybe that was where my journey went the wrong way. Yeah. You know, maybe that's why. Sure, I got money and success and fame and everything, but I don't know who I am. Maybe that's where I went off track. And so I was just like, I raised my hand and I went home and I started praying to God like I had been a Christian for 20 years. I was desperate.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful, right? Beautiful. When you have this re-encounter, if you will, with the Lord, is it a gradual turnaround or is it an overnight turnaround as far as your addiction and your lifestyle at that point?
It was pretty overnight when I think about, you know, it was just a couple weeks, 3 weeks or something, but man, the pastor was so cool there. He just talked about, like, he was in jeans and a regular shirt. He didn't look like holier than thou, and he just said, look, man, if you're on drugs, if you're messed up, if you have a bad marriage, you're alcoholic, you come to church while you're messed up.
Yeah.
Bring all your garbage here. Yeah. And God will come in and clean you out,
yeah.
You know? So it was like non-judgmental, and so I kept going. I was high on meth going to church, you know, and I'm like, I would tell God, like, I want to get off this stuff. You know, my daughter deserves a better father, and I want to be what she deserves. Yeah. He was a preacher, but he was just a normal guy. And he was like, man, bring your mess here. And it's okay that that you're a mess in this place. In my church, it's okay that you're a mess. We're never going to give up on you because God will never give up, you know. And you can't like give someone the behavioral steps to be like Christ-like. He's got to have time to pour His Spirit in and do a supernatural work inside of him. And we can't. That takes time.
Come on, brother.
You got to be patient. And I'm talking to myself too. Yeah. You know, because it's a work that God wants to do, and it's not fast food. You know, it's like it takes a minute. You know.
Be patient with the process.
Yeah.
So the church is all about a process, and I think that the world that judges us sometimes need to be mindful of that because they judge us very hard.
Yeah.
But then the church itself too has to be careful not to judge the world and those that are coming in. So what I hear today more than anything with your messages, and even the message of Loud Crazy Love, is that with God, it's all about the process and the patience of that process.
Yeah.
And it brings about the promise.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm a big just opponent of not making it us and them. Like the world, that's them. It's like we're all broken humans. The only thing is that us that are believing Christ and He's inside of us and we're letting Him get all our junk out. And sometimes you see that mess out there, but you know, I think everybody is just the same. We're all broken, you know?
Yeah. Did you think you were gonna make it?
Just through the addiction and everything. I didn't think I was gonna make it out. And if I did think I was gonna make it out of the addiction, I thought I would just carry that depression for the rest of my life and I would just have to bare knuckle it. And Christ has taken away my depression. He's given me, I'm a new creation, you know, a brand new creation. Can I say one thing? I am a new creation, and he's taken that, and he's given me so much hope. But I'm going to be honest, like I do take non-narcotic, mild depression medication, and I got off it for a while, and I needed to get back on it, and so that there's no shame in that either.
Good.
Whatever works for you, you know.
For the depression.
Yeah, for the mild depression. Right.